Should be streaming on both. Double checking here. YouTube does look good. Trying to get this Twitch stream up and making sure it's good. All right, we are live and on the air on both YouTube and Twitch. Welcome everyone to the Foolish Tech Show. It is a finally Friday, and we're here mainly to provide support and answer any questions about our products and services. If you do have any of those, feel free to jump over to our IRC chat at foolishtechshow.com. We got a couple ways you can join from there. We'll be more than happy to talk directly with you. Otherwise, we'll fill the dead air with random shop talk, and if you'd like to participate in that, always feel free to join the IRC as well. Just remember to keep in mind any opinions expressed here are of the person that expressed them and not of the entire company. So with that, how is everybody's Friday going?
It's going okay. I'm fine, thanks.
Well, update for Crypto Prevent and AJ, if you're there. This one's mainly directed at you, and some other people have seen issues with this as well. But we're working on a fix for the registration issues. If you possibly change system date and time formats between the various registration points. So once we have a fix out for that, those should automatically be fine and good to go from there. But otherwise, not quite ready yet for release. We still want to do a little bit more testing on it, and we'll have it out at some point once we feel comfortable with that. And let's see, what else do we got? Surprisingly, not a whole lot of tech news out there for today, because we're being swamped with other news. Hey, Glenn made it on time today. I saw you in the chat, said that you were way late. 2 hours late yesterday, but no worries. We're always here ready. So,
well, what I wanted to mention, because I think I might be affected by this, or you may be as well, but that did you get the new update?
No, Verizon hasn't released it yet.
Yeah, I haven't noticed it either. I've been trying, but it's
you're not going to get it for at least another month to 2 months, especially considering Samsung even stopped rolling it out for a brief period of time there.
Okay, well, I mean, I just
and then stopped their rollout. So
okay.
So essentially, what ends up happening is the manufacturer finishes their updated version for that phone. They send it over to the carriers. The carriers add all of their crap to it, and then
is there any obligation for them to provide the timely update on that, or it's just
once they feel comfortable with all their crap being on there and working, then they send it back to the manufacturer. The manufacturer will then reapprove and make sure everything works still with all their crap added, and then the carriers will push it out. So you're looking at least a good month to 3 months, maybe 4 or 5 months.
Great. Another reason I should have gotten a Pixel.
I'm sorry, what are you waiting on?
The Android 7 Nugget update for the Samsung 7.
Nougat. But yeah, the Pixel probably is getting, probably already had the update, right? It's probably released with the update.
Probably, and the Samsung one isn't even the latest updated version. It's 7.0.1, and the latest version is 7.0.1.1 or something like that. Somewhere along those lines.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't really look to be able to update my phone.
Hmm.
I have an unlocked version.
Hey, oh, so apparently Uber has to pay 20 million.
You gonna post a link about that?
Yeah, hadn't got a chance to read it yet, but that looks like they were doing some of those things the stories reported. Trade Commission, they exaggerated drivers' potential income and vehicle financing rates in order to attract new drivers. But that was not true. In fact, looks like many made barely half that much. Let's see. Not even, I don't know about that figure, but they did not make what they were saying. So.
Well, I do got some tech news here, so let's look at these. Google's VR art app is going open source, so all kinds of crazy cool things could come of that. Their art app is pretty neat. I haven't actually gotten a chance to try it myself, and I'm not sure if you have to have a wand or not, but if you don't, then that'll make it pretty cool to be able to start using the abilities in it. And it looks like it's free for companies making under $100,000 a year. After that, I'm assuming you have to pay some licensing fees or something. And not sure if Phoenix is here, but he'll like this. Looks like GHacks did a review on Rufus. Oh no, wait, that's not the one. RMPrep tool is the one that Easy to Boot does. So, GHacks did a review on Rufus, which is another USB maker.
Yeah, I've used Rufus actually.
And I used it before too, but the RMPrep tool is a whole lot better.
Well, I don't think I recall using Rufus exactly for the same things. Let me look back into that. Oh yeah, I used Rufus to for just creating It's a little bit more focused on just USB bootable stuff, but I thought it had some neat things for formatting drive sometimes. Give me a little bit more flexibility.
Well, the RMPrep tool definitely gives you a whole lot more flexibility. If you haven't looked at that, you might want to.
Maybe I should.
It does all the stuff Rufus does, plus a whole lot more. And that's from the creator of Easy to Boot. I believe.
I will look into that, but I think they can work side by side. I think Rufus, like I said, has a smaller focus, and it's might appeal to those who don't need that additional functionality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
I thought this was interesting. Have you ever thought about ways to measure a magnet? This thing,
scale, or no, you mean, what do you mean by measure a magnet?
measure a magnet strength.
Oh, Gauss, yeah.
Yes, there's a dual sensor Gauss meter. Thought that was pretty cool.
Does it have a pi inside of it?
I don't know what it has inside of it, but it was done with a 3D printer.
I mean, this looks almost like a pi project or something like that, but maybe. I wonder what it costs to produce. It's very nice though being able to make tools, with a 3D printer and a couple little extras like the Arduino or something like that.
Yeah. I thought this was pretty cool from the same site as well. You want to get in on the robot revolution, you can start by learning the open source operating system for robot servo stuff, something like that. Anyway, you can use Arduinos and basically control robots and how they move. Oh, that was pretty cool. Then let's see what else. Oh, NASA imagines taking a landing on Pluto. Neat little gift there. And also from NASA, it looks like
Is that one of their that they just made that? This is not an actual shots from anything, right?
no, they have not landed on Pluto.
No. Well, I know that, but did they probably use the images though from the was it New Horizon? I forget the one that went out there.
I think so.
That's what the article says. It uses 100 images taken by a New Horizons spacecraft.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah.
But they also got another thing from the thing currently going around Saturn,
Cassini, yes.
Saturn's tiny moon that is the reason for making wave patterns in its ring shape. I thought that was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
They had theorized about this. It's so great sometimes if you do follow this closely to kind of see the ideas go, and it's oftentimes a very slow process, and so you have to wait years for that to ultimately happen. But I remember years and years and years they had talked about potential. You saw TV shows saying, "Oh, they don't know why the rings are all shaped this way," and all this other stuff. And now they're actually with later missions, they were able to get the answers, and that's what science really is, just really slow progress over really long periods of time. And it's very hard to look at it on a smaller scale and realize and realize the larger progress sometimes that's being made. But it's definitely at work, even if you don't pay attention to it, obviously. And if you do, it can be quite surprising. It's kind of like an ongoing adventure. It's like discovering new lands, like on Earth. Maybe back in the day might have been something like that, and it's a lot of it's in the people's minds, but they do actually send things out. And while we may not be exploring firsthand like a human being out there, having robotic vehicles out there allow us to do a whole lot, or at least
robotic. You said robotic.
Robots have a lot of
robotic out of here.
But thank you for the cool pictures. Anything that incorporates the imagery from those missions is always welcome.
And Glenn, with his sense of humor, came in and said NASA hasn't landed on Pluto, but Mickey has a couple times. Boom. I thought this was freaking awesome. Definitely not sure I'm going to pay the $40 it costs, but this is a new way to make bacon. It's got a vertical heating element. It looks smaller than a toaster, and you just lay 6 bacon strips across, and within minutes you'll have crispy bacon. It's called the Bacon Express, I think is what they call it. Let's see.
For all our bacon listeners, yeah, awesome.
Yeah, the Bacon Express.
So I had been talking about some overclocking results and things like that recently on the show, and they finally popped the lid off of the new 7700, and I was just fascinated. And I know they used a relatively high-end thermal interface material, but they basically delitted the CPU, put a new thermal interface on, and then relitted it, and compared the temperature characteristics before and after. It was dramatic. And some of your concerns, Brantley, over the increased heat of these newer chips. Mine was the previous generation, but the new ones even appear to be just as bad, if not worse, in that regard to some extent. And it might be that the material that they're using, maybe they skimped on, or maybe because there was such a dramatic difference. Now the interesting news is that it didn't provide that big of a benefit overall, even though the numbers seemed rather large. So the end result is end users really aren't seeing all that much of a difference one way or the other, and it will just help some really hand overclockers. But there's the risk. Previously they had considered putting the cooler directly on top of the die, but there's way too high of a risk of chipping the sides of it because of uneven pressure, especially with the higher end units that we have now with more pressure on the mounting mechanisms. That being the case, it's not
AMD
really
tried
possible.
to do the exposed die thing, number of years ago.
Well,
And
I think they all originally started out with exposed dies, but eventually realized until quicker than they did that it wasn't necessarily the best thing for returns and otherwise. But I've actually done the delitting before on an AMD Athlon XP, and it was it improved my cooling performance quite a bit. But then again, I was going directly on top of the core at that point in time, and not quite like this. But if you're experimental enough, certainly it's going to void your warranty. But if you want to take that risk, it seems to be easy to do, particularly with that piece of equipment that they have. Although I think that piece of equipment that does that is probably not cheap in and of itself. Oh, Gear VR, $52 at Amazon with Prime.
Nice, well worth it.
Is that and you have one, right?
Yeah, they're awesome.
So, how old is this Link? Is it not the same price anymore? Yeah, $52. That is cheap.
Yeah, they're normally $99, I think. Is that the first one or the second one? Probably the first one.
It's got the model number here. It says latest edition. But
and that's the
2016.
I don't know what the difference is, but it says that's the international version, and the U.S. version is $94.99.
I guess maybe you just can't read the instructions.
Yeah. Internet version, product packaging and manual, baby, in a different language other than English. So that's the. But listen, for a $40 price difference, I'm okay with that.
I don't read. Who reads the manual anyway?
Well, you can download them. This day and age.
It was a joke.
Yeah, sorry, I'm getting a little too riled up over this. But I was just surprised at that price. I always thought the entry a little bit high on those things. So.
Well, it is definitely well worth it because the Gear VR is so much better than any of the cardboard VRs that you can get for your Android phone. And if you have a Samsung Galaxy phone, well worth getting one of those and using that for your VR stuff because it is so much nicer interface. I thought this was pretty interesting. Apparently, Zuckerberg is suing hundreds of Hawaiians to force property sales to him. So Zuckerberg apparently owns 700 acres of property in Hawaii on the island of Kauai. Yeah.
Kauai, yeah.
But these people that he's suing are people that own land that's completely surrounded by his land that he owns, and therefore have the legal right to cross his lands to get to their property. So,
is this the same one article we looked at yesterday, or similar?
Maybe. I thought the one y'all talked about yesterday was the him in the Oculus, the Oculus Rift lawsuit.
Yeah, we talked about the land in Hawaii.
Oh, okay.
Either
my bad.
or maybe the day before.
Yeah,
it was probably yesterday.
We had a brief discussion over it. We didn't go into much detail. I read into it a little bit more, and he's since he's talking about he didn't say fake news, but he said I don't know, something to the effect that they were exaggerated or reports. But it does look like they filed like quiet lawsuits, with weird, with names that wouldn't maybe suggest what they imply. I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not understanding that particular Hawaiian inheritance passed down thing, exactly. So it's hard to say one way or the other, but it sort of appears as if he's trying to strong arm people out of some potential property that may legitimately belong to them.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. But the reason that he's doing it is because his land surrounds their land entirely.
Yeah.
Like the land he owns is completely surrounding theirs. So to
And
get to their land, they're allowed to cross his land.
now Hawaiian law makes it so that the beaches are public. So his quote unquote beachfront property has to still, in that area, still remain public, the beaches themselves. So that's, in that sense, it's not really, I don't think it's a loss for the Hawaiian population in general, because of that other law that, so it's a little bit more complicated an issue, but, it's kind of crazy that there's people that own, there's a whole island is owned by, the Oracle guy, I believe. A whole Hawaiian island, the sixth largest, I think, or sixth or seventh largest Hawaiian island is owned by him completely, and before we know it, and I've vacationed in Hawaii, and I have a grandfather who stays out there during the winter, and the culture it's nice, it's unique, and I can see that going away or being inaccessible or only being accessible to a few very, very rich folks, and I don't think, I mean, that's like sort of like the same thing like displacing the Indians and stuff, and I'm concerned deeply.
Yep. Well, more sad news is that
Wait, what's going on in that picture? Zoom in. Did they actually try to mount the cooler on the CPU upside down?
what pic? Oh, that. What?
I just want to know what's going on here. I mean, zoom in.
They're just showing you a picture of the CPU.
No, but what about those little marks? Those little white marks? What's all that about?
I don't know.
Huh. I've never seen something displayed like this. I don't know. I see what you're saying, but it's a little bit weird.
That is weird. Anyway, it looks like Miguel Ferrer has passed away.
Miguel Ferrer.
Yeah, he was on hit shows and films like RoboCop, Twin
Yeah.
Peaks, and
I remember from Twin Peaks.
Los Angeles. Yeah, I remember him from Twin Peaks as well.
That was.
He was a good actor.
Oh, he will appear in the upcoming Twin Peaks revival on Showtime, reprising his role one more time. But of course, that'll just be that one time. He was always a potent bad guy, in a lot of films. He was in RoboCop, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those people that you just, kind of are in the background in a whole bunch of movies you've seen, and you never really kind of, their name doesn't jump out at you, but you kind of miss them when they're not there.
Yeah. I thought this was
61.
just a photo. Move on. I thought this was pretty interesting. Kymco, pretty good scooter maker, has come out with a updated smart display for their scooters, which include a smart app where you can put your picture on the display. Oh, that's pretty cool. Be careful, that has a auto playing video on it.
I
Yeah.
installed that thing you told me about. It's working pretty good.
Cool. What was that thing, so we can tell people now?
I forgot. It's
I'll find it again real quick here.
Silent Sight Sound Blocker.
I got it. Here's the link for it.
I beat you to it.
Fine. So that's a Chrome extension to block websites from making sounds without you wanting them to. You may have heard or not yesterday, but the day before yesterday. I don't know. I didn't listen to yesterday's. It may have happened yesterday too. But you might have heard some videos being played in the background when Proctor was looking for news articles. Then talking about those news articles right after he played them. That will help with that in the future, so hopefully we won't hear any more of those. But it is also nice because I hate it when websites just start playing, especially playing videos automatically. That's just ridiculous. If I want to watch a video, I'll play it when I get to it. That's what it actually aggravates the most out of me, that YouTube does that. Anyway, I thought this was a pretty cool video. Somebody took their bike rides and made it look like they were using Portal to ride around. So they like go into a portal and then appear somewhere else doing rides and stuff. Pretty neat. Pretty neat.
So, there was some information regarding. Remember how we made note that the Legend of Zelda was coming out for both the Switch and the Wii U, and it was apparently noted that there would be differences between them. It looks like, yeah, the Wii U is going to render at 720, but interestingly, it looks like the Switch doesn't actually render at 1080. I mean, it gets pretty close, 900, but this is clearly not at the same level of some of the other consoles. I don't know if that really makes a difference. Obviously, the games really that Nintendo push tend to go for beautiful storylines and other aspects that enthrall certain players versus just straight visuals. But I would have thought that they could at least meet the 1080, especially since current consoles are starting to get to the point where they can do 4K. So, well, not current, but the midstream updates to them will be able to, which is actually the same generation as the Switch. The same generation.
Nintendo's never gone for resolution.
But I guess, hell, if you still got a Wii U and you still want to play, even at 720, you'd be happy, or you'd be okay with it, I guess.
Right. Well, I mean, also, Nintendo graphics have never really needed high resolution stuff either. They're usually more cartoonish and blocky, and
that's
essentially the same at high definition versus 800 by 600.
You could argue if really, what quality difference are you going to see rendering a cartoon at a much higher resolution? But there always is jaggies, with the trees and some of the background environment and things like that. And
Jaggies.
Yeah,
That's the technical term for it.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, it's because the Wii typically doesn't have the Nintendo consoles don't have the power to do the anti-aliasing like some of current consoles do, and that's where it hurts them, I think, at the lower resolutions more so than the other guys. But again, it's what the audience will tolerate.
Isn't that like called frame tearing or sprite tearing or something?
No, it's called aliasing. And that's why they do anti-aliasing.
Yeah, maybe. Well, here's a pretty neat Raspberry Pi project I haven't seen yet. Building your own smartphone connected door lock. So if you want an automatic door lock that you can control with your smartphone, you can now do it with a Raspberry Pi. Pretty neat. And thought this was really awesome. I'd never thought about this, but apparently if you fly to Iceland, you have the chance of seeing the northern lights while you're in flight, and that looks pretty awesome. I'd never actually even thought about that, but I'm sure there's some other flight paths that take that, like if you're going from the US to northern Russia, probably. You might get a chance to see that.
Well, I'd like to see the northern lights from the ground.
Yeah, I would like to see them from the ground as well, but seeing them from the air would be freaking awesome.
Especially that high up.
And I mean, probably the coolest thing I'd ever seen from a plane is a lightning storm from the plane. Like they fly above the clouds, and if there's a lightning storm going on, you can look down and see like lightning traveling in the sky. So.
Speaking of that, I was fortunate enough to be on a very high, almost, was it a mountain? It's a very high point in Naples. And there's a valley area, and the city is kind of at the bottom. And so I was up here looking down, and there was a storm beneath us. And there was lightning in it and raining down at the bottom. And I just thought that was the weirdest thing in the world. I was looking down at a storm, and all we were having was this crazy wind and stuff. And it was clearly lightning and stuff down there. And eventually things changed a little bit, and we got some of it. But it was an odd experience. I didn't think I was that high up, but apparently I was. It's certainly far more common in a plane, like what you're talking about. And I think it had something to do with the valley nature of this that occurred. I don't think that would normally be the case, but
it's a goal of Glenn's. I'm assuming either seeing the northern lights or the lightning from the sky. Lightning from the sky is probably still one of the most awesome things I've seen in general. Because you never really think about it, like the lightning that doesn't hit the ground, it just lights up the clouds. That's actually lightning bolts traveling from cloud to cloud, and seeing that from above is freaking awesome looking.
Oh yeah. There's some great photographers have gotten some beautiful pictures and some video with very nice cameras of that type of thing. And when they show it in slow motion, what happens? And have you ever seen one that like started on one side of the sky and then just started to branch out and just almost seemed to completely go over you? There's really some cool things you can see sometimes with storms. I do kind of understand storm chasers and why they do what they do.
The lightning is the one that Glenn was had a goal to catch. It is really cool. It was way before the time of easy access to digital cameras and the ability to catch that from a plane window. So I did not have any pictures or video of it, but I really wish I did. I've yet to come across a plane flight that I got to see the same. So I thought this.
Just take a quick look at that. That is minimal.
That is minimal. Why has it still got big buttons though?
Check out a couple of pages in. You can start to see it has the ability to do most of the extra functionality. It only has 40% of the keys of a regular keyboard. It's got 47 or something like that keys. And it's mechanical, so that might appeal to some people. I don't know. I think this is just more somebody wants to be
different.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think there's a huge advantage to using something like this. I think it would be a little bit more annoying in some cases.
Well, the Futures Tech crew will be interested to hear about this next time. I can't remember if it was Quark. I believe it was Quark that brought up the graphene or nanocarbon tube things. Well, someone apparently made a graphene superconductor.
I may have talked about that briefly yesterday, but go ahead.
No, that's all. I just thought it was cool.
They've done some great, amazing things with graphene. Everything should be made out of carbon nanotubes and graphene.
And bad news for St. Louis. Did you talk about this yesterday?
I don't think so. What is it?
Oh no, it came out today, so you couldn't have. Ransomware locks down public libraries at all locations across St. Louis. So the St. Louis computers got infected with ransomware. The St. Louis public libraries got infected with ransomware. Hopefully they won't pay the ransom.
Call them on Monday, Michael, and see if they're interested in CryptoPrevent.
There you go.
Will do.
We're having a 50% off sale.
Exactly.
Yeah, perfect opportunity for them.
Yeah. Hey, Tank, you might like some of these. You can turn a soup can or any 10 tin can lid into a emergency whistle. And I think you would like this one even more, is a multi-tool in your belt buckle. That's pretty sweet. So you get a full multi-tool inside your belt buckle.
I do like the multi-tool belt buckle. That is rather nice.
I wonder if you'd be able to take that through airport security.
I don't know.
I don't remember what they made me do with my belt. Did I have to take it off?
Yeah, I think you have to take it off and run it through the thingy.
I don't know if I did or not, because that would have made it extremely hard for me to hold my
Well, even if you did take the belt off, they would have to pay attention to see what the belt buckle was.
Do what, Tank?
I said even if you did take the belt off at the airport, they would still have to actually pay attention to and look and see what the belt buckle's something different.
And Proctor thingy
Yeah,
is the
maybe.
technical term for a
Yep, sure is.
full body scanner or whatever you're talking about.
That's what it's called.
But still, it's a nifty little tool.
Yeah, I thought it looked cool. And just don't try to take it through airport security.
Yeah, better not try.
They did not let me take my Gerber through airport security. One time I forgot it in my backpack. I ended up having to have them throw it away.
Oh, I would have just like, well, I'll catch another flight. But
Yeah.
plane tickets are still more expensive than another Gerber. But, still rough, man.
Jeez, Michael, why don't you turn your ringer off? Do not disturb during the show.
He turns his ringer off the same way he mutes.
That's true. That might be about all the tech news I really got out here. Let's see if anything else major going on. I might end up crossing what y'all talked about yesterday. Yeah, not finding anything great. Oh, apparently they had a avalanche in Italy, and so far they've pulled 10 survivors from the hotel that it basically trashed. Avalanches are so scary.
Yeah, I've been loosely following the Italian disaster there with that, and it just seems to be ongoing. And I'm glad there's survivors, but in each of these stories, a lot more died. Another thing. Did you mention this one already about Symantec?
Nope.
So apparently they had already been at some time has issued some bad certificates in the past, and now it's up to I think 108 that they've issued that are compromised now. Now is the implication of this is just until they
putting out bad certificates so much recently.
Yeah, that's what I don't quite understand. And isn't there a mechanism to just to invalidate a certificate in some way?
I don't know. But hopefully this is pushing more people to Let's Encrypt, where you can get free HTTPS certificates now. So Amazon is taking the dash button to their home page for one-click purchasing. And dash buttons you can actually buy and get physical ones, and they essentially end up being free because they give you a credit for them after that. Did y'all talk about the Krebs and the Mirai botnet author?
No.
So apparently Krebs from Krebs on Security believes he's determined who the author of the Mirai botnet that attacked him was.
Oh.
Undertaker says in Melbourne yesterday, yeah, I see that. Someone drove through a major shopping street on the footpath and did burnouts. Oh man, that's crazy. And y'all did talk about the Note 7s getting turned down to that. Ooh, y'all did not talk about this. Here is a scrolling Lego Super Mario level. So it's the Super Mario level made out of Legos and it scrolls. It's freaking awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah. And did anyone hear about the fact that apparently the government was going to try to ban vaping in national parks? If you did, apparently they're not going to do it anymore. So
That's good. That is, I was gonna say, is that why I lost my Skelly?
maybe, yeah, they just some ranger took it. I doubt that. Yeah. We got anything else cool here? Did y'all talk about Google Android searches being queryable offline now? So if you
No.
don't have internet access and you do a Google search, it'll save it until you're online next time and do that search then.
Cool.
That was pretty cool. And for all those that love GMO products, you're gonna have GMO apples on sale next month that are non-browning. So you can cut your apple and then just leave it there and come back and eat it later.
I mean, I don't like brown apples, but I usually don't have too much of a problem. Eating a whole apple is not that big of a challenge typically. With kids, you cut them up or they don't want to eat the apple, that type of thing. I guess I kind of understand that's a little bit bigger for them. But if they make it last longer, I guess that'll help for transportation too. I still want the apple to be fresh and crisp and juicy, though. There's other qualities other than just the color.
I mean, it might be that. It's GMO. They make it.
It's better, stronger, faster. What is this?
Yeah, that would be cool if they had if you're smart. I mean, it doesn't even have to be the apps themselves. If the smartphone itself was smart enough to queue up things and let you know, I would think that would be the better route to take. Like if something accesses the internet and it doesn't have internet, it'll just display a warning to you and say, hey, this can't work right now. Would you like to queue it for later? And then suspend that task or something. That would be cool. I thought this was pretty cool too. Apparently, 2 years ago, a teenage engineer debuted a trio of pocket-sized $60 synthesizers, and now he's come up with a new one that's bigger, better, stronger, but it's also more expensive. But it looks pretty cool and neat if you like synthesizing. I don't know if we talked about this one that I heard of either, but apparently ransomware is now going after CouchDB and Hadoop servers. I know that Hadoop servers are used for real big data, so if those get encrypted, man, those people are not going to be happy, and they are more than likely to pay the ransom off that. So remember to secure your servers and lock things down and make sure they're well protected.
And back them up.
Yeah, definitely back up. Let's see, I might have some older links here. Let's see what we got. Oh, I didn't hear anybody talk about this one. First, just check out the picture in this. I mean, the article tells you what's going on there, but apparently this person had a vaporizer explode in his face to the point where he lost 7 teeth, and it looks like half of the bathroom sink.
Dang.
At least a good quarter of it. And yeah, if you look at further down, he's got some pictures posted there of what ended up happening. That thing's crazy.
Looks like his face did better than the sink.
Yeah, and it looks like he does have an unregulated mod. If you look further down, it's got some pictures of the exploded mod, so that's probably the issue. Using crappy batteries and unregulated device.
Yeah. So that oftentimes are two things that go hand in hand. So somebody will want to save some money and get on an unregulated device, and by the same reasoning, they'll go for a cheaper battery that was probably poorly made and or rip off of an actual name brand. And those two can be a deadly combination. But of note, those same types of things could apply to virtually anything else that was battery operated. You put a crappy battery into a crappy rig, and in this case, but
Put a crappy battery into a Note 7.
Into a Note 7 is a good example. Yeah.
I don't have the article right offhand, but apparently Samsung, remember, was supposed to come out and explain why their Note 7s were exploding.
Oh yeah, you didn't.
About it.
I think I posted a link earlier today that you didn't cover. Let's see. Yeah, way back it was.
Samsung's
excuse for Note 7. Yeah.
Yes, and it's essentially what we had come to the determination of when they started having the issue, was the fact that they tried to fit a larger battery into a smaller space and then had a manufacturing issue when they did that, essentially not taking into account the fact that the battery might get way larger than
see, it sounds like this explanation is supposed to remove the blame from them to some extent, but to me it doesn't do that. It sort of squarely puts it on them. I mean,
yeah. I mean, that's what happens when you try to make things last longer in smaller cases.
It just means that you can't pitch pennies everywhere. That if you want to deliver something like that, then there's a cost, and either you pay that cost or you don't offer that feature, but you can't have it both ways.
Yeah, and for how much people were paying for Note 7s, they should have been.
Exactly.
Costs.
Especially if you consider against
studded mostly.
Against the Android One, devices. I don't know if you recall us talking about that, but those are, basically half the cost or less than one of those phones. And I'm probably betting a lot of those don't explode.
Yeah, but they're also not very feature packed.
No, that's true. They're definitely designed for a different target. But check out. I haven't seen a review of this yet, and I was just a little bit impressed by that. The screen, 28 and some change inch screen here on this is just 4500 by 3000 resolution.
Yeah,
that was pretty impressive.
People really liked it when they were looking at them. The Surface Studio, that is.
It's got good specs. I was a little bit upset that they seem to be integrating NVIDIA's last generation of chips in there, the 900 series instead of the 1000 series. Little bit upset about that, but they did seemingly put together a relatively solid machine here.
Yeah.
I just don't know if it fits my use, you know, with the tablet-like stuff, and I think it's really meant for the creator update, but that's not out yet, right? So
Well, it's meant for people that want to do photo editing mainly. It's not really meant for general computer usage.
Hmm.
You can use it for general computer usage, but it's targeted at people that are doing photo editing or drawing and things of that nature.
yeah,
And I would think that you could probably use it for video editing as well if it does have the 900 series in it, but
you know, it's
the power of it.
it starts at $2,999 as
I
the
know.
base model.
They make it extremely expensive for their Surface lines of things.
I do not. Let's say that there's a $4,199, $4,200 price tag on the top model. Whew.
I would really like a Surface Book, but I can't see a reason to pay $2,000 for it. Not the Surface, regular Surface 4 or anything. The Surface Book that has like the nice little
Yeah.
image and everything. Did we talk about this? Because I think I might have talked about it with Johnny and her family and not us. Does anyone know what the drawer under a stove is for?
Yes,
Yeah.
we did talk about it. It's for oh gosh, what it was for.
It's for
Did we
trays,
talk about it
Keeping
on the
stuff
show?
warm.
metal trays. It's for baking cookie sheets and
So warmer or something.
stuff like that.
Anyway, if we didn't talk about it on the show, there's the link again. But yeah, it is. It was designed to be a warmer. So if you have hot food, you put it in that drawer, and it will keep it warm in there. But
I always thought it was a storage drawer.
yeah, everybody almost uses it for. I've never seen anyone use it as a warmer.
Yeah.
No, we actually have warmer settings now on things that are typically used surface-wise to keep things warm.
On the surface. But it also says in this article that you might want to check your manual because it may just be a drawer.
I imagine this may have been in context of an earlier period of time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just became unnecessary because of other technologies, you know, like microwaves.
Does anyone ever have a use for recording web browsing sessions? If so, there's a app for that now called Web Recorder, and GHacks did a review on it. So if you like just recording your web browsing session, you can do that now. I can only see that being used for if you had a really good porn session, I guess. I'm gonna go back and watch it later.
I'm trying to figure out a use
Trying to
case.
figure out, yeah, a good use for it. Other than that, like, I can't think about it.
If you're like showing something off or doing a site comparison, maybe, or maybe you're reviewing website. I don't know.
Maybe the reviewing websites or showing off your site. Yeah, you could do it that way.
Possibly demoing or showing off the order process of a
We
product
should've-
on a
yeah,
website.
we should have done that before we switched the V7 bulk, so that people would have known that was a drop down.
Yeah.
How about this? Did we talk about the CIA data dump?
I don't think so.
So the CIA released 12 million documents and declassified them.
I read this. Read the story. They do that. I mean, ultimately, every year, every year, you know, the drop off time happens. You know, so there's always going to be a whole slew of documents they're forced to release after the time span for top secret or whatever expires.
Yeah, this one has some of the things about their mind control experiments and
just don't look for new information. I don't think in this
UFO things and stuff like that on there. I thought that was pretty cool. I haven't had a chance to look at any of them though.
Well, certainly for the conspiracy theorists, they're gonna love the data, and you know, a lot of it is very supportive of the things that they say. You know, we did do experimental stuff. You know, we did do some shady things back in the 70s and 60s and 50s and 40s and things like that. There certainly were classified, technologies as well. It's got to be put in context, I think, but sure, there are going to be a couple of additional movies and books covering the new data dump, which should make for interesting reading for those folks.
I thought this was pretty cool too. A interactive coffee table that lights up and plays games. So if you want to have a sweet centerpiece for your living room or den, that looks like a fun project to go about it. And I don't think anybody talked about AT&T shutting off 2G.
I read it though. I don't think it's it's been so long now. I think if you haven't moved to 3G.
Yeah, the biggest thing this affects is the original iPhone. Anyone that still has that on the AT&T network, which I want to say was the only one that was available for, wasn't it?
Yep.
The original iPhone came
The original, yeah.
Yeah. But those will no longer work with the cellular data because there's no longer 2G there.
Now, is this a complete stop in usage of them? I mean, they can still make phone calls, or no, not at all?
No, if 2G data is, or 2G is gone, then they won't be able to do anything.
Yeah. I imagine there's so few of those devices in current use and circulation, though.
But if you still have one, I bet you could end up using it on a different carrier.
Oh, and overseas too, possibly. Yeah.
Probably, yeah. And we're about to wrap up time here, but I thought this was pretty interesting little snippet, the evolution of the dollar bill. So you can see all the different versions of the US dollar all the way up until today, 1862 till now. Kind of neat to see all the changes in design.
If you happen to own one of these bills that they're displaying here, you can actually get their estimated value, which is all well in excess of a dollar. It's FYI, in fact, up to 2,000 I'm seeing in one of them.
And I don't remember if y'all talked about this or not on the shows, but did y'all talk about the college that fired its admin?
I don't remember talking about it so much, but I did read that story. And so basically the admin was fired, and then they found that when he returned his laptop, that was apparently the only machine that accessed their Google Enterprise.
So here's what happened basically. So essentially when this college decided to set up everything they own and move to
they used a private
cloud infrastructure, the admin that did it just signed up for it under his name. And he was the only one that had full administrative access to that Google Apps account. Well, apparently he was working remotely from Chicago, and apparently they'd done a whole bunch of stuff kind of discriminating style and basically trying to force him to quit. And
that is just his opinion, though. We don't know the facts of that, but
yeah, what his opinion on it. But finally, when they ended up just going through and firing him, he didn't give the password for that, and they couldn't access it without having the password, which he said the password was on the laptop he returned to them.
But the laptop was conveniently wiped, from what I understand.
They say that the laptop was wiped when they got it. He says that the laptop was fine when they got it. And it is not unlikely that the college would have wiped the drive and re-imaged it as soon as they got it back. So,
oh, that's true.
The password was on there. They would have had access to it. And since they wiped it, he's asking for $200,000 to give them the password. Google won't help because the account is registered under his name and only his name, not the business. But really, the whole thing just doesn't really matter. It's just that situation in particular. However,
Well, see,
The biggest thing that matters is that if you're setting up a business, don't have your employees sign up for services and then you base that service off of them.
well, I got you, but I still think he's wrong.
The company.
I've read
Basically
into a lot of
extorting-
cases over the years where the old IT guy left and there's no one knows passwords and can't get into stuff, and
Yeah, this isn't the first time.
people
And-
die and nobody knows how to get into accounts.
The thing is, they sided with the school or
They did?
whoever it was, didn't they, Brantley?
I don't believe so. Or at
Oh,
least the article I had, they
See, I'm thinking that they almost should. I think it's more of a case of like him just
It's-
trying to
it's
extort
still-
money from them.
from what I have, it hasn't gone to the courts yet, so it'll end
Okay.
up going to the courts.
Well, I
But
would be
at
interested to
this
see.
side, I would say it's the college's fault. Like the business.
I think the college should have had more responsibility, but I
and
still
I
don't.
think that he should be paid for his consulting services after being fired. I don't think he should be forced to give up something that they didn't take into account. And they were irresponsible about.
I agree with that, but I think previous court precedents might state otherwise for the very reasons that.
Later, Glenn.
I
Proctor
think him
was
asking
suggesting.
for $200,000 is a ridiculous amount.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. I'm not saying that that's not, but I do think that, I mean, it's the business's fault for not securing their assets correctly and not.
Well, just like is it a business fault if they don't have proper security and they're robbed? Well, robbery is still illegal, and whether or not they should have had more security guards, or more security cameras, or better locks, or something else,
They
could
didn't
always be
steal
said.
anything.
Well, I understand, but there are other types of crimes other than theft that could potentially, be involved here. And like I'm saying, I think it's like borderline extortion, and clearly when he set up that account, he may have, in fact, because he was doing it as a work request, him not providing a company or his company's email, in other words, using a private email account that only he had control with, could actually maybe be, I don't know, got to look up the laws, but there
I
could
would
be an
think
issue
that
in
would
of
be
itself.
more the issue of the company. Like I've seen several times where companies have taken over services that some employee was just testing out, and they decided to put it in full action across the company.
If his job function is to administer email for the company, though, I think I think there's an issue with that.
The key point from here, though, is that you shouldn't be just protecting your cyber investments from outside things. You should also be doing audits and making sure you have access and recoverability of things internally.
I stand by that 100%.
Their thing is going on here is that they ended up firing somebody and then found out that they couldn't get into something. Now, if it was a physical key, I could see the court saying that he had to give the key back. But since it was a password, he was fired. I don't see any reason why he would have to talk to them ever again. It just doesn't make sense to me. But
Did he sign an anti-compete agreement?
I don't know. But apparently, one of the other requests he had was for a clean bill of reference. So they probably weren't giving him good references after firing him either. So,
well, I mean, I can sort of I can understand maybe one of that, but you do get though that he could be framed in a light that makes him look like he's just a disgruntled employee who wants to get back at the company he left.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to look good for him in the future trying to find a job when he extorted his previous employer.
Yeah. Although he won't have to worry about it for a while if he gets it. And he does have documented times where the college has been more than willing to do consulting with former employees. Like they hire former employees on
But not under threat, though, usually, I'd imagine.
Well, I mean, how else would they have gotten it? And that's basically discrimination. So because you like this employee, you're fine paying them for it, but because you didn't like this employee,
No, consulting,
the services afterwards.
it's not uncommon for somebody to leave a company and then them to be missing some aspect of what they did, and on a limited engagement, hire those additional services from those people under a consulting role. and that's fine. But who would ever give nobody in the right mind? If you had somebody who came in who they believed, whether or not it was true, they believed committed some fault against them, they would never offer the job to that somebody. It'd be like offering a job to somebody who's qualified.
So they're demanding free stuff out of them after that. Then
No,
it's not fine for him to demand to be paid for it.
No, but maybe it's about the price.
What I'm saying is that, I mean, yeah, I agree that the price might need to be negotiated there, because that does seem a little bit.
If it was under his previous salary terms, I would say
they were the ones that decided to fire him without knowing everything that they needed to do with him being gone. So I feel like it's more.
Well, I mean, with him being the last admin, they should have checked everything before they let the guy go, made sure everything was working and they didn't need anything.
Yeah.
But I still think it's ridiculous for them to have to pay $200,000 for that password.
Yeah, I think that is a little exorbitant as well. But I mean, you can set your price, so if you're an independent consultant, there's no law against charging whatever you want, unless there are laws against it, like the gas industry, things like that. Anyway,
I do like the last sentence of the article. Hell hath no fury like a sysadmin scorned.
But if you looked at it if somebody was told to leave the company and then they were in an admin place, and let's say it's totally unrelated. Let's say they got fired for I don't know. They had I don't know, any other reason. And at that point, then they were pissed off and they were told to leave their desk and whatnot. What if they went in without their authorization and reset all their passwords on everything that they had access to, and then walked out the door? I mean, that would be probably a hacking charge.
Yeah, that would be malicious intent if you were unauthorized at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But
so what about
prior to that? And
Michael, you had your chance. You had your chance. I'm saying.
Hold on. Let's let Nick talk.
Okay, has anyone understood from the tool aspect? Like when you go to, oh crap, here goes my internet. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Surprisingly.
Okay. From the tool aspect, so when you're working somewhere and you use one of their tools, to do your job, like a broom, right, to sweep the floor or whatever. And the tool is what they give you. And if there's a new job and they need you to do it and you don't have the tool, they either get the tool for you, they requisition it from corporate, or they provide you with the means to acquire the tool or create the tool. Either way, it's their tool. It's like the company's tool. So the password, is it not a tool?
That's an interesting point of view. I guess you could argue that the email that what Google is providing is a tool for the business in some way.
And when you take the broom home from work, you're not only not expected to hold it for ransom, you're generally expected to get prosecuted for theft, on top of whatever.
Well, that goes back to what I was suggesting, that his motivation at the time when he set the password, like if he was like, well, I want to cover all my, I want to make sure that they can't mess with me.
Well,
do this
so like this though, if you had given them that tool back, so you returned the tool and they lost it in processing and then came back at you and said, you never gave us this tool. That's what he said. He said he gave them the laptop that had the password and stuff.
Well, that's bad, but if they had the tool, they wouldn't be saying that, so.
But they wiped it without retrieving the password.
Hey, look, if it's something that he can help with, then that means he's got the tool. If he doesn't, if he can help with it, and he admits that he can help with it, he's got the tool.
Oh, that's a good point.
As far as I'm concerned.
So, like, if he doesn't know the password because he gave him the only copy that he had and he didn't memorize it, and they wiped the drive,
Well, no,
he would have to contact.
protocol. It should be protocol to be changing passwords with the people you're canning.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's the first thing, you know, so this shouldn't have even been an issue because I know all of the what ifs and I know where things keep going, but
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying too, is that I feel like it's more the company's responsibility to have taken care of that before they let them out.
well, yeah, I agree with that totally, but I feel like if it has slipped past their responsibility, not like they should be handed something for their fumble, but it really is their tool, and if the person has it and it is no effort to give it up, I don't think he should be paying anything for it. I think he should be required to give it up.
I don't think a jury would be sympathetic.
Well, like if he didn't have the password and he had to contact Google and go through the password reset with Google, would that still be considered no effort?
Well, they could have hired someone else to go through that. Technically,
they contacted Google
to do the work while the guy just sat there, and the guy should have to sit there, and if it means he has to do that to satisfy the court or moral right or whatever. In what I see as looking at it from the tool aspect. I mean, we all know that is something that belongs to.
I accidentally clogged the toilet.
Okay, slightly different turn there in the story.
Awesome indeed. I will be right on that.
Well, that's obviously far more pressing than the debate here.
But it would seem to me that at most this guy should be due maybe an hour's worth of compensation.
Yeah, that sounds fair to me.
Yeah.
You could go that far. I could say you could go that far, but you'd have to pay him fair market rate. And I would say for a freelance employee, not for a corporate employee or whatever his former pay rate is, I would say freelance pay rate would be fair for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we can wrap it up today.
But that's like court costs. I mean, it's still like a compensation for your time, but you still had to do this because it was supposed to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Well, that was a fun one. I'm glad I brought that up.
Well, hey, I'll tell you about fun next week after I clean this toilet.
That's what I was trying to end it on. So let's wrap it up today. So thanks everyone for joining us. We'll be back next Monday at 8 a.m. Again, we are here mainly to answer any questions about our products and services. If you have any of those in the meantime, you can always feel free to contact our support via the various means we have on our site. Otherwise, if you'd like to talk to us directly, we will be here Monday and be more than happy to do that with you. So hope you have a great weekend. Hope your week was great as well, and we'll see you next